What's up, everybody? I'm LTJ Reeds, and this is Throwing Light. And if you're not throwing light, you're not acting right. We are at the final episode of 2024 with Throwing Light. We have made 69 episodes, okay? Not only have we had 69 episodes, we have had almost 100 guests. Every week of 2024, I've brought different flavor to you. I've even had extra episodes in the week. I've even had some panels put together. I do want to say that 2025 is going to be an exciting year for Thornlight as we move into a more polished state. We will continue moving in our normal promotions and things the way they are, but we will be moving to a bit of a new phase as we get towards the end of 2025. So I just want to thank everybody that has been on the show, everyone that's watched these episodes after I've posted. Thank you so much. Like I said, if you're interested in being on the show, just reach out to me. 2025, the calendar is already going, and I have a new component I'm adding to Throwing Light called panels. So we'll probably be having a panel every month, every now and then. So, anyways, thank you so much. I want to go ahead and bring on my guest, who was at the very beginning of this year in January, one of my first guests on Throwing Light in his current format, Pedro Coronado. Pedro was Mr. RGV Leather 2023.
Yes.
I also had the honor of competing with Pedro in Mr. Texas 2023. I've had the opportunity to work with him. Throwing Light would not exist had I not met Pedro. So I'm just like that. I would have never thought I could move in the direction of doing talks like this. So I appreciate him so much. When I won my title, Pedro was one of the first people I got to work with, and I'm very excited to see where our relationship goes moving forward. I'm going to stop in a second, but I do want to let everybody know that since then, Pedro has become Mr. TBRU 2024, or is it
So
2020?
yeah. TVRU 28. Yes.
Cool. All right, cool. Not okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. So we'll get to that. So, guys, everybody, please, Pedro Coronado. Hello, Pedro. How are you?
Hello, hello. Doing good. Took a nap before this before this video, so I'm a little refreshed right now.
Good. I'm glad I got you post snap. So it's been a minute since the last time you've been on the show.
Yes.
Yeah, and a lot has changed.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some of the changes that you've gone through.
Yeah, I think the last time when we did the show, there was like a Sunday fun day going on. I was at one of our local bars, and I think they were having like a gear night or something like that. And then, but yeah, so since then, so a lot has happened, right? Like actually, I kind of feel like the year has gone by pretty fast. And yesterday, I was just with my Sash son, with Jesus, the current Mr. RGV Leather 2024, and we were just kind of talking about all the things that we did together, right? And the places we went to, and like just kind of and not only what we did, but we were kind of like planning what we're gonna be doing next, right? So it just never stops. So
Yeah, it
you
doesn't.
know,
It doesn't stop. No, and we share a unique thing that we're both the first of our titles, and of course, I'm working closely with my Sash son right now and getting him ready for IML. But Jesus, I had the honor of being in my IML class. That's my IML brother, and he was contestant number two, and I was contestant number one. So if anyone felt the heat and the pressure like I did, it'd be Jesus.
yes, yes, no, definitely.
So, what brought you from that title to your current title?
Yeah, so well, back then, well, our title, we tend to have our title competition in February, right? And Texas Bear Roundup is in March. So I had just, given up I had just stepped aside. Jesus was already our Mr. RGB Level 2024. And then I love TBRU. Like I've been going to TBRU unofficially for such a long time. And I say that in the sense that, I used to live in Dallas like 20 years ago, and that's what, I used to go to their events. And then every time I would go, my birthday's always on spring break week, on Texas spring break week. TBRU is always on that same week. So instead of going to the beach, I would go to Dallas where my family lives. And then I just took the opportunity to go out and, so that was kind of my connection and history with TBRU, right? And being so also involved within the bear community. So as my title was over, right? Well, I had stepped aside. It was kind of like I knew I was going to continue doing things, but sometimes the reality is that I'm not going to say that more doors open when you have a title, but it's just easier to open them with a title, right? So, and then I said, you know what? Like, and it was one of those things too where I'm like, you know what? I don't know if anybody from the Valley, from the Rio Grande Valley, where I'm from in South Texas, has ever competed for Mr. TBRU. Maybe they have. I don't know, right? Because there's been 28 people who have held. I'm the 28th person to hold the title, right? And I'm like, like I said, you know what? I'm gonna try it. Why not, right? Like, let me see. The worst thing that can happen is that I get to be on stage, be around all these beautiful men, and just do my thing, right? And that's kind of what really catapulted me to just run for the title, right? And it's a fun title in reality. I didn't. I'm just very extra.
It's not a leather title, correct?
No, it's not a leather title. It's a bear title.
Mhm. So, what has been, throughout the course of this year, you shifted to that. What's been different between your leather title and your bear title? What are some of the differences?
So obviously, like I'm more leaning towards always like being in leather, right? So for me, it was always one of those things where like I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go to an event, I'm gonna be part of something. It does not always have to be leather, right? Kind of thing. I don't always have to be wearing leather, but I do, right? And that's just my thing, and that's what I'm gonna keep doing, regardless, right? Because nothing says that you can combine both, right?
Yeah.
So really, the only to me the difference that I see is just that there's nobody's telling you what you need to be wearing in order to go represent the bear community or to do things for the bear community, right? um so really, that to me personally, I think that's the only really difference that I see.
Yeah. Um, I'm a little envious of that you were able to move from one title to another. I am not ready, but I think I'm gonna be taking another swing at it in 2026. So we'll see what happens. Let's talk about self-care. Okay. You went from one title to the next. Okay. um, for people that are seeking titles or current title holders, do you recommend always to go with your gut feelings if you want to go for another title? Or rather, my question is not everybody is not everybody's Pedro. So it's not very
Yeah,
I think it's really cool and it really shows ambition and drive to go immediately for one title and execute a title that really is outside the realm of the title you were doing previously. So that makes sense. It's what I'm saying,
Mhm.
that makes sense. You now gain this kind of broader audience, I think. Now this is the 28th roundup.
Yeah,
You're number
yes,
28. Okay.
I'm number 28. Yes. So kind of people kind of feel sometimes they're like, wait, like, are you like the TBRU of the future in 2028? I'm like, no, it's just Mr. TBRU, the 28th, right?
Man,
So,
it's sad that you get questions like that.
and that's fine, right? At least they're asking, and that's a good conversation starter, right?
I guess
Like,
there's no such thing as a stupid question.
no, not at all, not at all.
I'm a teacher and my face is rounding up because I think I've heard stupid questions before.
Yeah, no, I'll take it, and we'll use that as a conversation starter. But you know what? Yeah, so well, we're talking about self-care and those kind of things, right? When keep it in mind too, right, that when I ran for this title, I am a part of a bear group, right? The RGV Bears here in South Texas, and it's really, from my knowledge that I know of, it's really one of the first established bear groups. And there's a friend of mine, there's a friend of mine. He lives in Dallas right now. His name is Ogden, and he actually, well, years back, he tried to start a group when he was living in South Texas, and he said he got a few people, but it didn't really take off. So when we started the RGB Bears group, he reached out to me. He's like, "Oh my god, it's so awesome that you guys are doing this!" And he's like, "By the way, I opened up a Facebook page, and you can take over it if you want. Nothing really happened with it, whatever, right? Like, and we got a few people, but not a lot. So just having that support of somebody that was initially starting something, I'm like, you know what? I need to kind of bring more light, right? If anything, to our group when it comes to what we're trying to do down here. And Texas Bear Roundup, it's not just a Texas event. You have people that are there from like all over the country, probably all over the world, right? You have over 2,000 people that attend that event. And I'm like, what better place than to showcase the Rio Grande Valley and what we do, right? So when we talk about getting to the self care piece, um, you know this too, right? As a title holder, they tell you that you really don't. In reality, you can just get the title, you get the sash, and then you put it away, and then you just disappear from the world, right? You could technically do that, right? Nobody's gonna come back and say no, depending on the producers of the titles. But at the end of the day, I think we do this because there's a purpose behind it, and we know it's gonna be hard work. I'm probably the worst person to talk about self care because I don't understand the concept of self care. To me, self care is let's organize an event. To me, self care is like let's go support that group over there. Like that. That's kind of what gives me self care. And then taking naps, like the one I took 30 minutes ago.
I need a nap too. All right, check this out. That's all fascinating stuff. The thing is that again, not everybody's Pedro, so but there is to something for the amount of work we do. I mean, I know what I'm doing is valuable,
Mm-hmm.
but I do want to bring up that in 2024, I put the community before me like 95% of the time. And hey, 2024 happened the way it did. I didn't get a training book or a manual with how to be a leather holder or all that. I thought I needed to do as much as I could with my title, connect with as many people as possible, show visibility as much as possible. I succeeded in that. I thought when I moved, at first I was like, moving from the title, am I still going to be effective? That's not the case. I'm still effective. Um, my title 2024 title ends December 31st, which is 2 days. Really, that I'm still in that year a little bit. And so having a Sasson still has that connection to this part of my journey as Mr. Austin Eagle doesn't really end until I get to IML this in 2025 when the
Mm-hmm.
new class is chosen. And so I'm still riding off of those residuals. I'm still hosting events as Mr. Austin Eagle because I am, and
Mm-hmm.
that's never going to change. I'm the first. When the community needs me, I'm going to be there. I have the amazing, and I'm so grateful to Sir Rack, to the Eagle, everyone that sponsored me. My sash is Mr. Austin Eagle 2024. Every sash beyond this, there's no year. So my
Mm-hmm.
sash will always be there, and we plan on hanging it up and memorializing it. And it really has been an incredible symbolic journey for me because when we met Mr. Texas, to think that I didn't have a leather title future really, and then Mr. Osingle comes, and then I get to present myself as someone that had grown to get to the
Mm-hmm.
growth. I won Mr. Austin Eagle because of my growth. And that is really, really important because one thing, Pedro, I realized that not everyone has, and it's a blessing to have, is self-awareness.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't have self awareness, you can never really, and I don't mean this in any way, you can't be effective if you're not focused and you're not targeting the right things. Um, Self care for me in 2025 is about splitting my time with myself and my community, splitting it 50-50. That's what 2025 is for me. Because in order for me to be a better leader, I have to invest in myself. I need to get back to researching. I'm getting in filmmaking, TV production. We just might see Throwing Light as an actual produced television show. That's what I'm trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm taking my leather powers and I'm applying it to my artistry.
Mm-hmm.
Because right now, you know, everyone got to see me dedicated to leather for 13 months, and there's so many other aspects of our lives that we have to focus on too, as not just human beings but especially queer people. There are all these facets that we need to nurture and to go, and that we're aware that we need to nurture. That's one of the gifts of being someone that is not rigid in their sexuality or their gender, is
Mm-hmm.
that there's always ways and opportunities to be effective. Um and as much as, like, getting to the end, I want to be like, I've done it, because a lot of my IMO siblings are done. I respect a lot of them are done, and I don't see him anymore, and all that. And I totally get it. You know, one of my closest friends in my class, he was done. You know, I knew I was not done because of my international goals and ambitions.
Mm-hmm.
And when my title year was done, nothing changed in terms of I got busier. That's one thing. I got busier. Um, and then people are still looking to me as this light. You know, I went to Fort Lauderdale. People coming up to me, Mr. Austin Eagle, like you're blah blah blah. I'm just like crazy. You know, New Orleans, all these places I went, people knew who I was, and so
Mm-hmm.
I went to Fort Lauderdale 2 weeks ago, and to be out with my leather family and people approach me and know who I am and what I'm about, to be able to talk about throwing light, to be like, oh, you made such an impact when I did not think I made that impact at IML because I didn't place where I wanted to. But I was contestant number one, you know? So,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
you know, what contestant number were you when you competed?
43, I
And
think.
you got eighth place. I mean, that's
Yeah.
phenomenal. So, but, you know, I guess what I'm trying to really get to everyone that's watching, Pedro and I have a unique energy where involvement is in fuels us. And not everybody can do Pedro, and not everybody can do me. And that's not what we want to sit here and inspire. We want people to grow into who they are and be who they are. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And Pedro, would you say that? Do you feel like you fully know who you are right now as a
Oh
comedian?
no, actually, now I kind of understand the concept of when people kind of say, when people reach their like midlife crisis, when they get into their 40s, and they start doing all these things. Like I get it, right? Because to be honest with you, I'm 41. I feel like I am just barely like really living life and being true to who I am, and I'm not trying to please people, and I'm not trying. I mean, like I'm just being me, and I'm trying to do as many things as I possibly can, things that I've always wanted to do, right? You know, look, I get it. Like earlier when you said about, you have that IML brother who says, you know what, I'm done, and that's okay. And to be honest with you, that takes a lot of courage to actually say, I am done, and all I want to do is maybe, yeah, I'll go to leather parties and whatever, and I'll put on my gear, but that's all I want to do. Don't put me on the spotlight. I don't want to do anything else, right?
But that
That
was also his argument, is that he was sick of having to put leather on too, and now it's
oh
because it is work. It is a
yeah, yeah.
I'm more comfortable doing it casually, so it doesn't bother me. But he was
Mm-hmm.
like, dude, I can just put on tennis shoes. I can do this and this. And I listened to all of it. But again, and I know you feel this too, Pedro. I am always going to be at work because my dreams are international. I stepped on an international stage knowing that I might be able to connect to several people on several continents.
Mm-hmm.
Since January, since the last time you've been on the show, North America. We got people in Colombia, South America, I'm connected to, Martinique in Africa, Europe, tons of countries that have had representation. Australia have all been up on the show this past year. I've been able to at least touch five continents, with the
Mm-hmm.
exception of Asia. That's the only thing in Antarctica. I don't think Antarctica is going to happen, y'all. I'm not going to.
Hey, you never know.
No,
Dream
I'm
big.
not going to say it's not possible, but I've seen a lot of alien movies, and I just don't want to go. I don't want us to bring monsters back. That's not. We don't want to keep the monsters in Antarctica. I don't know what's going on over there. But Asia, and so, and I'll say what I'm really trying to do is build a relationship in Japan right now. That is kind of like
Mhm.
I learned that there's leather culture there, and so like that's the thing. So um growth growing is sometimes growing into more of a better leader, like me and you are leaders, and so there's always, have I grown, am I leading, all of that. And when you're passionate about leadership and when you're passionate about your community, your free time goes to the community, and that's fine.
Mhm.
And there's a
Mhm.
difference between working for the community and enjoying your community. And as a leather title holder, you could not enjoy the community because you're busy working. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I went to events, I put all this work into it, and I'm leaving alone at the end of the night. Everyone else is
Yeah.
at, but like it's just like people don't see that. And being a leader and a title holder definitely could be a lonely journey because, especially if you're a first, there's no book. Like, where
Hmm.
do I need to be? And I'm sure you agree with this.
Yeah.
Your first year is about visibility, obviously. Like, we're
Hmm.
here, we are RGV, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's what it's like for me. Um, do you see yourself when we talked about it? We had a discussion about our title journeys, like cutting that off at like 42. Is that what we said?
To like
Right?
stop
Yeah,
doing
to
it at the age of
stop
42.
led to pursue titles. Did we have that?
Oh,
Was it 44?
no, I don't think we had that conversation.
Yes,
Or
we did.
maybe
You said you want. Yes, you
I
did.
don't know.
Talk about having you were like, I want
Oh
why you're
yes.
doing Mr. Because you said you want to go and do this now because at a certain age you don't want to be doing this.
I think I said like 45. I think I
Okay.
still have a good 3 more years. Going after titles, I don't know, maybe, who knows, right? It just, it depends. Like, I just want to be very intentional with, what to go for and why and what's the purpose,
Of
right?
course. Of course.
So, yeah. So, 45. But we'll
I've
talk
been
about it when I'm 45.
and so I'm going to just adapt to Pedro's plan. That's my 5. So who knows? I just turned 40, so I got 5 years. You all might see me have 11 titles. I don't know. I don't know.
Love it.
But let me tell you something a little bit about that, and for you guys that are watching and grow too, like competing in competitions over and over again and not winning. If you truly want to be a title holder, that's great. But I'm going to go back to the word that Pedro said, intentional. Every competition I've had competed in, of my 3, had intention behind it. If you are competing in 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 leather contests, uh, it's hard to be taken serious. And it looks like you are chasing sashes. And I get it. Like, I'm so happy for the people, especially my sash son and all them, for having it. Because I believe it was intentional. They put the work in the all single community, they wanted that title. I've run into a lot of people that are not allowing themselves to grow from competition to competition because they're just like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. And people see someone desperate. That's what people see. If you're in 7, 8 leather competitions and people haven't gotten to know you, that's a problem. If you are
Hmm.
going to compete in multiple leather competitions, the community needs to learn something new about you every time. If you're doing the same things over and over again and you're not connecting to the community, you might think that you're making an impact by showing up to these leather contests. But once a leather contest is over, everyone's going to forget about you unless you're doing something.
Correct. Yeah, no, you're right. I think I think it's spot on, right? Because it's true. Because the leather competition is just one weekend, and that is it. Right after that, we make speeches. We tell the judges we're going to do certain things for the community, and at the end of the day, even if you don't get a title, like, because even for, like, I remember for the Texas title, right? Being in that with that panel of judges and kind of talking about, especially, you know being the first person from the Rio Grande Valley, to compete for that, for like a state title, and then my goals and my plans have always been to kind of, you know, grow. If there's any other, like, leather community, like in a smaller town, a city, whatever, or even if it's a big city but they don't even have a leather community and they're trying to put it together and make it grow, that was always my intention, to be able to use that platform, right, to use that title to be able to help with that, right, because it's like there's no point of me going with my title to a big city and I'm just going to be in a sea of other title holders, right? um it has more impact, like when we went to El Paso. Remember when we went to El Paso and you and I are waiting wearing our titles, we're doing karaoke and everybody's kind of like, asking questions and everything, and that in itself, I think, would then inspire that community to be like, you know what, we would love to have a title holder of our own and send them over there and like, make the community here grow. And so I think, being intentional, whenever we're, like you said, if you're going for a title, what is the purpose of going for that title and what are you going to do with that title, and then how do you grow? Because just because you have a title, it doesn't mean like you know all the answers and
Might
everything,
not
right?
grow, and that's kind of going back to us again. You have on these 2 people talking to you right now that are above average workers in the community. And so not everyone has me and Pedro's work ethic when it comes to community, and that's fine. But you've got to be giving the community something. You can't expect them to give you an award or a sash and you're not doing something that connects to the community.
Mhm.
So what I have a hard time with sometimes are people that have a harder challenge in terms of geography. Um, uh, and not understanding when you're going to enter a competition and it's not in your home place, you have a lot of work to do. And you can't show up to these competitions and be like, well, my work speaks for itself or this and that because people don't know you. And I guess my last thing about kind of being a title holder and growth is if you are a title holder and from the time you get it and for the time you end, you didn't make an impact, then that's something that you have to look at because it's there for you to make an impact. But if you're just worried about the sash and now you're now an important, you have a microphone. Um, Definitely be intentional with your leadership and your goals and know why you're doing them. And remember that people do judge,
Mhm.
unfortunately, and you need to present yourself in a way that's authentic. So there's a thing called sash chasing. And what Pedro is doing or what I intend to do is not sash chasing because what you heard was about intentional things and why we have that. And I just want to say, any that I encourage people to just have good intentions.
Mhm.
We're coming towards the end. I want to ask a special question to you and in this show on something that's going to be probably something we're talking about all 2025, and that is Project 2025.
Mhm.
Pedro, is there anything that we can tell the community to shed light on to prepare us for this next year and what's ahead of us?
So, I live on a border town where we have a border fence, right? And then the rhetoric of, walls will make things better for our country, and obviously that is not true. I also live in a community where we have multiple bridges, right? And these are physical bridges, and they're also metaphorical bridges, right? When we're working with our sister cities across the border in Mexico. So, one of the things is just really prepare. Like, I think, I don't know, like, what people might be thinking that's going to happen or not going to happen. I am part of a mixed immigration status family, right? So, I do have family members that potentially could be deported. So I need to prepare not only myself, my family, but my friends, my community. So kind of thinking about like what's going to happen if these mass deportations happen. So really getting to know what resources are out there, what you can do. I have the privilege of being a U.S. citizen. Um, and I'm going to use my privilege as a way to be able to do something and to help out those that are disadvantaged, right, for not having that citizenship status, right. Then another thing is like kind of what I'm doing, even with just like the raffle that I'm doing for shameless plug here for abortion care, right, in Texas as a whole, right, when it comes to abortion care, it's just really difficult, right, for people to be able to access that service to it's almost non-existent, right? So little things that I could potentially do. I'm glad I waited this long for my because with TBRU you do have to have a you're supposed to do a fundraiser, right, for whatever charity you want to do it for. I'm glad I waited this long because I was able to, find an organization that I really want to do it for, which is Frontera Fund, and and what they do is they try to collect money to be able to help people access abortion care in other states, right? Because here it's not legal after so many weeks. So yeah, it's I think I lost myself what I was talking about. I went I went on a rabbit hole. Oh yeah, 2025, Project 2025, right? So yes, inform yourself. You need to talk about it and you need to act on it. I think those are like the three key things, right? And it's, to me personally, for Pedro, immigration is a super super important topic, and also abortion care.
Amazing that you are the last episode because if people don't know, on day one they're talking about mass deportation. So I think that's fitting that we actually have because that is the one thing that we have been saying that happens on day one, and we don't have any idea what that looks like. But
Mhm.
it sounds horrifying. So,
Yeah.
um, thank you, Pedro, for being on the show. Thank you for coming back. I look forward to see what we do next year. Obviously, we're going to have to continue to work and do a lot of work here in Texas. Pedro and I are in a red state. We're in one of the meanest red states. It's not like an ignorant thing. It's more of an arrogant thing. Like
Yeah.
they want to be, they want to be like this. They want to be violent. They want to be homophobic, racist. Like it's a desire, and it's scary because I'm from Louisiana. I don't see their redness in the same way as I see Texas. I see Louisiana's is definitely an ignorance thing for sure. Because I think there are a lot of people with good intentions that get caught up in politics, and it's just unfortunate. But what I'm not going to do in 2025, I'm actually going to step away and I'm going to go in another door, but it won't be through American politics. I know a lot of communities say, hey, you got to be political. I am sorry, you guys. I hope that you can respect me as a leader, but I will not be engaged in American politics in 2025. And the reason for this is that there's no dialogue. No one's talking. There is no reason for me to inject myself in something where we're not having a conversation. All that's going to do is hurt me and hurt my community because these people, we're only going to justify their.
Yeah.
So this is my approach. I am not telling my community anyone to do, but for me, there is not a healthy dialogue for politics, and I don't want to endanger anybody.
Mhm. No, I completely agree. That's why, if anything, I think I just need to kind of worry more about how to help those people out that are going to be
How to
impacted,
be
right? So,
effective in this moment, in a present, forget all that. What can we do in this moment? That's what we have to focus on.
mhm. Agree. Completely
All
agree.
right, y'all. That brings us to the end of the last episode of 2024. Thank you for everyone that has validated this around the world. And thank you for people that watch these episodes and see the positivity here. But we're only going and we're only growing. So I look forward to see where we go with Throwing Light. I know I'm going to see Pedro back on here. With that being said, this has been Throwing Light. And come on, Pedro, let's do it together. All right. I'm going to say, what am I going to say? If you're not throwing light, you're not acting right. You ready? One,
Ready.
two, three. If
If
you're
you know
not
not,
acting right, you're not. Wait. If you're not throwing light,
you're not acting right there, because if
oh,
you're not
if you're not
throwing
throwing
light,
light, you're
you're
not
not
acting.
acting right.
There we go. All right, y'all. That's the end of our show. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.